going on? Todd Shaw with another episode of the Sawdust Dude. Today we got a episode about glue ups and clamping. So let's get started. Hey, let's start off with glue. What's the best glue to use? Well, I use Titebond 3. It's an interior exterior waterproof glue. Works really well. I've never had this glue fail on me. The wood will break before the glue joint will break. So that's what's really sold me on Titebond and Titebond 3. Interior, exterior, waterproof. The way I kind of look at it is, especially if you're making cutting boards or anything that's kind of going to be, maybe get damp, you'll want to use that glue. So I just use it all around instead of switching back and forth. Works really well. And if you're working with a walnut or a dark color wood, Titebond even makes a dark wood glue for those projects. Works out really well. Let's talk about clamps. You know that old woodworker saying you never can have enough clamps. Well, that's true. Clamps will come in handy when you're doing glue ups. They make these little small ones like this. It's got a little trigger here on the end, slides back and forth, and do your final turn and tightening that way. It's good for little projects. I've made this turkey call. This is all a glue up. Made that box call using these clamps. Block plane. This is all with small clamps. So any little small project like that, in boxes and things like that, these are the clamps to use. Probably the next step up is a bar clamp. The bar here, once again, works on the same principle. Slides back and you tighten it up from there. So great. This is a step tread. You know, if you want to make your own step treads, these are good clamps to use for that. Goes from them like that. Next size up, and this clamp really is a pole clamp or a bar clamp. Excuse me, a pole clamp, and is used for tables, and really it'll just out as far as, you know, the pipe that you have. So this is another, it's a Pony brand, but this is called a pole clamp. So you have bar clamp, pole clamp. This is the cool wood clamp here. Oh my gosh. It's another cool clamp here. This is a Shopsmith brand. This is great for tabletops. Sometimes when you're doing glue ups and you get 4, 5, 6 boards, you know, for me here, if I'm coming way out and I can adjust this out, slide my boards in the middle, and then tighten it down once I get this out here, and I can tighten up my boards. And sometimes if you get it too tight, the boards will want to move up or crown up on you. This is a good way to solve that. These are really good. Shopsmith. Let's talk about the next step, is actually making our stock or doing the glue up. How do we actually go about it? Well, you want to prepare your stock, your wood material, and I want to make something that looks like this. And this is a project that you'll see coming up later on. I've got 2 species of wood, and I want that lighter stripe in the middle, which is curly maple for me here. I make sure that I dress my wood out real well and that everything's the correct thickness, so it all will marry up real well. Now I take my pieces and I line them up. I don't want a crack or any gaps where I'm gluing up. The better that I can get it now, the better off my finished product will be. And so sometimes you have to take your block plane and kind of fine tune it. And so I'll lay my pieces out and I get it to where it looks good. Now here's a mistake that some guys make. They take their pieces and they kind of move them all around, and then they forget, or they get ready to do their glue up and their pieces are scattered out and they can't remember which way goes or which piece goes where. You can do 1, 2, 3, you know, from left to right. Or another way that I've learned, actually you just draw like a pyramid. And so when I take my pieces off and I can scatter them all up, I know which way's up. I know my pyramid base was to my left, and so I can line my pieces back up, and when I get ready to do my glue up, that it's exactly right. Okay, And I like to leave my stock long like this because sometimes you can shift it around and find a better fit. So that's what I like to do, and that works well for me. So we go from here like that. Got all my lines lined up. I'm just going to take my 2 end pieces and I'm just going to lay them up like this. Take my Titebond glue, run a bead down the length of my board. Got this little glue brush. You can use your finger, but I'll take my glue brush and smear it out evenly. You may need a little more glue, a little less. There we go. And I've got good coverage all the way across. Okay, take that, set that aside, flip my pieces. Let me wipe off this excess right here. Take my pieces, lay them down. From here, get it lined up, back to my original marks. Got my little pyramid. It's looking good. Now, here's something that I definitely want to do. From what we want to do from here, I need 2 sacrificial strips, and I'm going to put them on the outside. It's not glued. So from here, and this way that when I tighten it down, it's not going to dig in to my stock. So I'm going to start in the middle. From here, stock here. You know, as we were just kind of had things snugged up, I've got my clamps just so my stock piece just won't fall apart. So what I want to do is just make sure everything's lined up, that everything's flush, that I don't have one piece, it's called proud, make it more proud, or that's above another one. You can't always take a sacrificial piece of wood, rubber mallet, just kind of bump things in place, making sure that it's nice and flush, top and bottom. Because remember, if it's full on one side and shallow on the next, that means I got to plane out of here and then sand all this out here. So let's just get it right the first time. I know everything should be about the same thickness. So, and then I go up and then clamp it up real tight, taking my damp rag, making sure that all the squeeze out, the excess glue is out, because that's real important. See guys, that'll take the glue and just smear it into place. That gets down into the excuse me, that gets down into the wood grain, and so when you get ready to stain, it won't allow the stain to penetrate the wood, and you'll have a lighter spot there, and it'll look real spotchy looking. So make sure that you wipe that glue off, always using a clean spot on your towel, and that way you got a nice clean surface when you go to finish out your product, that it's really there. Now let's talk about the tightening process. Titebond and glue manufacturers say that you only really need about 100 pounds per square inch pressure. These clamps, I mean, they say go up to like 400 pounds pressure. And but so you just lightly do it. One of the dangers, especially when you get 5 or 6 pieces of wood and you start clamping, it'll want to crown up on you and almost, you know, fall apart. So you got to be real careful with that. That's why that other shop clamp was real important, because it kind of sandwiches it down and presses it this way on those wider pieces like that. So you let this sit up. You just kind of move it to the side of your shop. Let it sit up for about 24 hours, and then you're ready to unclamp and go. Okay? So that's a good part there. You come back, and this piece is sat up for 24 hours. And I can take it apart, remove my sacrificial strips on the side, and that way my sides are nice and clean, okay? And so there's no marks there where I had it all clamped up. And you're ready to start work. I can trim it up to the rough size that I need, and we're ready to start working. Thanks for joining us today on this episode of Glue Ups and Clamping. You know, it really is in our woodworking and carpentry. It's about better skills to get better results. So hopefully you learned something today that'll get you there, and have a little excitement in your project, something a little bit different than average wood to multicolor wood. And make sure that you like this episode. Tell your friends about it. Hit that like button. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Sawdust Dude. Like us on Facebook. And I hope to see you back real soon on The Sawdust Dude.